Hello everyone. I started the year 2024 here on YouTube by uploading 8 YouTube shorts throughout the whole month of January. In this mini-series, I present 8 fables, legends, and myths in the Quran, the holy book of Islam. My critique is that these traceable man-made legends, fables, and myths make sense if the book, the Quran, is from a 7th century Arab in the desert. But it does not make sense if these are from the creator of the universe. Remember, the Quran is the eternal, verbatim word of God, the Kalam Allah. It does not seem to be divinely inspired when this is the case. Muslim responded to this series of mine, and I had Chris from Speaker's Corner, and some of you guys also know him from SOCO films. And we talked about the 2 most common replies from Muslims when this objection is raised. The second most popular comment that I got, collecting all these, was that these fables, legends, and myths really did happen.
Yeah, I love that one. That's one of my favorite ones.
That is a good one. Do you have some initial first thoughts about the problems with that?
Yeah. So first of all, it establishes a relationship between what was revealed to other authors who were not Muslims in any sense. Some of them were Trinitarian Christians. Some of them were rabbinic Jews. Some of them would have been pagans, and probably a good variety in between. It establishes a relationship that the Quran, in some sense, was given to them before it was given to Muhammad.
Yeah.
So that would mean that the Quran is not a unique revelation just given to Muhammad through Jibreel, but rather actually given to quite a few people.
Yeah.
And that also means that if Allah protects his words, which is in the Quran, and supposedly that's referring to the Quran, that would mean that these texts that are centuries before Muhammad to random other authors are also divinely protected. So they end up in a really weird situation where the Quran is actually not just what Muhammad said, it actually includes lots of other stuff that came before, which is a really sort of difficult position for Muslims to be in.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's not Allah sent apparently 129,000 prophets to the nations before Muhammad also. Is the hadith about that? It's looking back in my head now. Yeah. Yes, that is also a problem. I mean, I don't recall any Vikings in Norway preaching the message of Islam and Kaaba and all. But anyway, I digress.
True.
Now
Same for England.
yeah, with the Celts and all this stuff you got over there. Yeah. So let's deal with the first one, and that is maybe I should put in like a drum solo in or like this in the edit to make it exciting.
Yes, definitely do.
Yeah. Okay, so the number 1 comment was, it must be true because Muhammad was illiterate, so there's no way he could have copied these. And I'm not joking, I just saw one comment like that this morning, again on one of these videos. So most of the videos, this was the top comment on all social media, commenting in a way like this. Must be true, there's no way it can be false because Muhammad was illiterate. So there's no way he could have copied it. Now, I know what you will say, but I just have to say this first. Honestly, this is just a really dumb thing to say because considering again in the Quran itself, Muhammad again and again is accused of plagiarism by the Jews, the Christians, the pagans. Muhammad even earns a nickname, the Ear, because he would go and listen to stories and he will retell them with his own spin and stuff, which we'll look a little bit more on after now. And he will just listen and he will repeat what he heard with his own spin twist. You can find this multiple places in the Quran. You can look up Surah 25, verse 5, 27, verse 68, 68, 15, 83, 13, many, many more. So yeah, this is, I was quite surprised that they would go this far and say, but then again, it comes to what we were talking a little bit about with logic earlier, but it's a bit weird. But what are your thoughts about it?
What I think's really sad about this is if you took someone who wasn't a Muslim and you explained to them that someone couldn't have copied someone's work because that person was illiterate, people would immediately see the problem in that, especially if they knew each other, right? It would be like, well, hang on a second. He could have just talked to that person and asked that person what they will write, and then he himself knows that knowledge. I mean, it's quite simple, really.
Yeah.
But because they're told that this is a good argument, they repeat the argument without ever stopping to think about what it is they're actually saying.
Mm.
And I think I just find that really sad, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't want to be in a position where my faith was based on things like that, because that would just get torn apart. You know, as soon as you come across someone who can just say, hey, there is a big flaw in the way you're thinking about that. And I mean, you can go even further in this. Like, there's hadith that makes it seem quite clear that Muhammad did write. So that's another problem. So it might not even necessarily be true that Muhammad was illiterate.
Yeah.
But even assuming he was, yeah, that doesn't stop him from learning stories. I mean, illiterate doesn't mean stupid. Illiterate just means that you're not able to read and write. But you can still hear stories, memorize stories in an oral tradition, which is what his culture supposedly was, and then repeat those stories. That's very easy. It's yeah, and like you said, the Quran tells people Muhammad is well known for hearing stories and repeating them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I just came across this because I remember in Sahih al-Bukhari 5669 and other hadiths also, they talk about Muhammad being on his deathbed. I have to learn English. And he basically he asked for pen and paper to like write a statement that will not let the people go astray. So that's interesting if you're illiterate. I have to drink a little. I have to drink a little bit because I'm having a little cold. I haven't drank enough camel urine. So, but
that's
but
all
yeah,
right. Yes.
Yeah. Regarding this argument, they start. I think much of the argument, or what they're saying, is basically they are starting with the presupposition that Muhammad is just the perfect example for all mankind, which it's in the Quran, and there's no way there can be anything immoral with him. And they are not even. They are like it's just very narrow and not a little bit looking at the wider perspective. So there's no. But I even have hard time to steel man their position on this point, because it's just so natural for us as humans to because these are things we experience in our day. Like of course a baby or yourself or something you didn't read but you heard, you can retell it. You know, it's I don't see how you can basically hold to this type of logic.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. If you wanted to steelman it, basically you would have to say something like, because he's illiterate, he's also not very intelligent. That's you see what I mean, and obviously they don't mean to say that, but that's what they're kind of implying. Like, there's no way he could have got these stories because he just wasn't clever enough to have known them. And it's like, no, come on, this is silly stuff.